I'm Eric.
I'm Ashley.
And this is our story.
Okay, we met in August of 2007. We dated for about 6 years before we got engaged, and we got married January 12, 2013. Our first Christmas together, we decided that we wanted to start having kids. You grow up thinking that it's going to be super easy to do that, and it's going to be right away, you're going to get pregnant, everything's going to go really well. That's not what happened for us. So we started trying to have a baby in February of 2014. I got pregnant the first time. So seeing those pregnancy positive signs on the test is pretty amazing. You get very excited very quickly. So we went to the doctor. I should have been about 9 weeks pregnant at the time when we went to Dr. Merritt. And I remember getting ready for the ultrasound, and I kind of had a bad feeling. I was thinking to myself, what if something is not right? So when he started doing the ultrasound, he wasn't talking very much. He wasn't saying a lot. The doctor wasn't. So I kind of knew something was up. And I kept looking at the picture. I really couldn't see much. And that's when Dr. Merritt let us know that there wasn't a heartbeat at the time. And also he thought he could see some blood in the amniotic fluid. So we knew that something wasn't right at the time. He asked us if maybe we got the dates wrong of when we conceived. Me being the planner and scientific mind that I am, I knew what the dates were, and I knew that this is probably not a good situation. We discovered in the second ultrasound that they would have been twins. So that would have been super cool to have two at one time. But that wasn't our path that God wanted us to go on at the time.
After the miscarriages, there was really nothing that I could do. I felt completely helpless at that point. Obviously, Ashley and I talked a lot. We prayed a lot about it, and we read the Bible. But you still have a sense of helplessness that is really out of your hands at that point. So that's really whenever I turned to God the hardest during that point, just because I knew that there was nothing that I could do. I myself, I'm a big fixer. I like to make things work. I like to please people. And when I saw that there was nothing that I could do there, God was the next, well, I wouldn't say the next option. God was the option for it. So it was definitely the very difficult time in both of our lives. There was a low point that we had never experienced before. I know right after the procedure, when everybody had left the hospital room, Ashley was happy and content. So I was like, man, this is going to be, not as tough as what I thought. And then as soon as the doctor leaves, she looks at me and she starts crying and she's like, we don't have our babies anymore.
So that's when I lost it. But good things came from that. Because you got two choices in situations like that. You can either run from God and get very angry and bitter, or you can run towards Him. So we decided to run towards Him because we've already spent part of our life not running towards Him. And that doesn't work out very well. Life is so much better going towards Him. So we had already been well established in Stanley Chapel at the time. We were in group. We had very good lives at that time. So sometimes negative things happen even when everything's going right. And there's a purpose for that. During that time also, I put a lot of my mind and kind of patience into music, because music speaks a lot to me, especially Christian music. So I remember my favorite band, Unspoken, had a song called Lift My Life Up, and I listened to that a lot after losing the twins, because you're wondering why God would put this urge inside of you to want to be a parent, want to be a mom, but He's not letting you have that just yet. You don't get it. You're trying to figure out what lesson, what did I do wrong? You go through all of these types of questions. So I listened to that, and I knew that I needed to lift it up to Him. And also in the song it says, have your way in me, because His plans are way better than any of the plans that you could possibly have.
So we were in group with the Braxtons and knew their story of the miscarriage with the twins, and just their journey trying to get pregnant. And I just felt very burdened for them. And it was strange because I've known several people with that same struggle, the desire to have a baby, and yet not been given the gift of one yet. So one day during worship service, during the music, I was singing, had my eyes closed, and the lyrics were something about, God's love and His faithfulness and His goodness even in times of trials. And as I had my eyes closed, I just got this vision of God's hands planting a seed in Ashley's womb. I didn't really know what it meant. It overwhelmed me with emotion in the time, and I just cried, feeling like I knew what it meant, but at the same time, I didn't feel like going to her and saying, God told me you're going to have a baby. Everything's going to be okay. Don't stress. I just prayed about it, and I talked with Micah and Pastor Dale about it, and we prayed about it together, and just prayed for them for the hope, the miracle of a baby. And so, I didn't share that with them at the time because I didn't want to give a false hope, because I didn't want to speak something into their lives that I don't know. I'm not God, and I don't know the future. As I was praying for them about it in my quiet time, I decided I wanted to do more than just pray about it. I decided to fast, use a spiritual weapon, So I fasted for 3 days and just prayed for a word of encouragement. Yes, I prayed for a baby, that they would get, pregnant and have a baby. But really, I knew that her heart needed hope and encouragement. After I had finished my fast, when I was reading Genesis, in Genesis 32, where it talks about Jacob struggling, wrestling with God, and that just intrigued me. I'm like, Jacob wrestles with God. What in the world? What does that look like? How is that possible? And so I was looking up a commentary on it to see, and as soon as I started researching what this meant and digging deeper into Jacob's wrestling with God, I knew, like in my heart, God said, this is the word you have to share with Ashley. And so basically the way the commentary summed it up was that God was using all of Jacob's struggles to transform him from a man who could control his circumstances and manipulate certain variables to change an outcome to get what he wanted. He wanted to change him from a man who could try to control his situation into a man who just trusted God and had to rely on God. And so I just knew, I said, this is the word for Ashley. Especially being a science teacher, I thought how appropriate, we manipulate certain variables to get a different outcome. And so anyways, I was excited and I wanted to share that with her. But I wanted to tell her in person, and found out a couple of days later, got a phone call from them saying that they were pregnant, and super excited. Oh my gosh. And let me tell you, I fasted and prayed for you. And this is the word that God gave me. And so you just know that the struggle, that you're going through, that all that, he's just transforming you into a woman who can trust him. And the next day, we were talking back and forth, texting while they were at the beach, and found out that they had miscarried this baby. And I felt so hopeless for them, and just kind of like, God, why did I get this word to share, to encourage? And then this happens again, and I felt kind of silly for sharing that word with them, and then thinking, well, what good does that do now? And but I kept praying, and tried to encourage and just be there, for our friends. And so that's when, we had the necklace made, just knowing that those 3 babies are babies, that were formed, and they were little Braxtons, and that we knew we wanted to recognize them and acknowledge their existence and the importance of them.
Our 3D group was awesome, and they supported us a lot through prayer. We were obviously praying a lot and reading our Bible, but it's very important to have other people pray with you as well, other people that are part of the church and part of God's family. Our group specifically got us a necklace. I wear it every day. I have it on right now. All 3 babies were November babies. That's when their due dates were. The twins were going to be due on November 14th, and the single pregnancy was going to be November 17th. So they went and got us 3 November birthstones with an angel wing, so that I could remember those babies. They also got Eric he's a big runner, and he loves to run, and on his runner ID, he has scripture that helps him remember the babies as well. So that was very important for us because we enjoy talking about them. We wanted to remember the babies and know that we had support.
So at one of our small group meetings, it was actually a kickoff for a new semester, we found out that they were pregnant again.
We went when I was about 6 weeks pregnant to the doctor, and we called Dr. Fritz and got on our hormones for that. And 6 weeks is kind of early because the ultrasound machine could be plus or minus days, 5 days or so, where maybe the heartbeat's not there just because of gestational age. So Dr. Merritt made sure he specifically said, Ashley, this could be where you're too early and there's not a heartbeat, don't worry. But I think God really knew that we needed to hear a heartbeat that day. So I remember I didn't even want to look at the ultrasound machine. I was looking at Eric, and I can't even remember what I was saying to him. And Dr. Merritt wasn't saying anything, but I do remember when all of a sudden you just hear the blub, 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 blub. I'm not good with sound effects. And I remember looking and seeing our little baby swimming around in there, but also seeing the heartbeat, the picture of the heartbeat going across the screen. And I'm pretty sure the people in the waiting room had to have heard me because I just screamed, yes, really loud because I was super excited. We had not got to that point yet of even being able to hear a heartbeat. So everything was going well with the pregnancy, and on March 5th, 2016, little Finley was born, Finley Renee. That was amazing, absolutely amazing. Took about 30 hours to get her out, best 30 hours of my life to get her out of there. So it's pretty awesome. She's our rainbow baby, which we all know that rainbows are symbols of God's promises to us. So we kept getting closer to God, and we got Finley. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to cry. But she's a constant reminder for us that even when things are good, bad things can happen, but they lead to even better things. And you just have to trust God for that. Her name is pretty awesome too, but there was a name that I kept to myself that was one of my favorite names in the world, and it was Finley. He had never heard me talk about the name Finley, but I remember coming home one day, I was still pregnant with her, and he was like, what about the name Finley? And I was like, oh, yes, like this is awesome. So her first name is a Scottish-Irish name, which is part of my heritage, but more importantly, it means leader. And Renee is my sister's middle name, so she got that name as well, but it means born again or reborn. So putting the names together, we realized that she could lead people to be born again in Christ. So when people hear that, they're like, you got some high expectations for your daughter. Of course, why not? This is why we're here, to lead people to God. So it's pretty awesome for her to have that. Plus, her name kind of comes from NC State for her daddy, because NC State plays at Carter Finley Stadium. So we had to give him that pleasure of putting his namesake in there. So putting that together, it's pretty awesome that we have this gift, and her name just so happens to be put together as lead people to be born again. So she's pretty special, and I know that she's here for something pretty awesome. But basically our lessons from all of this, we knew that we had to be patient. You have to give the time to God, because God's timing is so much better. Over that 2-year period, we changed a lot. We became better spouses, and we were very ready and prepared to be parents. So I knew that I would not be the same mom that I am now if I had Finley 2 years ago. So it works out perfect. And it also reminds you that you can help others in the same situation. I had a teacher friend that went through the exact same thing, lost her babies as well, and I could give her comfort, and I could speak life into her and give her the same different philosophies I learned and the same things from the Bible that I learned that would help her. So it's awesome to be able to take our struggles and help other people, and which is what we should always do. And again, it always reminds us that God doesn't say we're going to have rainbows and butterflies all the time. There's going to be negative things even when things happen and everything's good. And that's just to push you forward, the next step He wants you to go. So it's very important to just let Him have you. It's so much better to do life His way. Anything that we could have thought of that got us to this point is so much better with Him than what we came up with.